Welcome to the GESARA Show, a very different GESARA show today. And first of all, there are a few minor changes. First of all, you may have noticed that there's no Billy today. Well, in fact, actually, we sent Billy to a med bed and he came out looking like Sharon Mason. So Sharon is taking over the moderation duties today. She's the fill-in for Billy because Billy's just feeling poorly today. I think he's got bronchitis or something like that. Anyway, he was unable to take on. So I asked Sharon, who I've worked with before in the Birmingham show, and I thought she would be an excellent person to take on the job. We got a very special, you can see my backdrop has changed, as it usually does when we do specials. And because it's a common law special, then I thought a courtroom would be a suitable backdrop. Now also, these med beds are doing fantastic jobs because Ron has also been on the med bed and he's turned into a much younger man and changed his name to Geoff. It's actually Geoff Cook who is filling in for Ron, who's also feeling poorly today. And I'm told by Ron, but also by having a discussion with Geoff today on the phone, that he is just as highly qualified as Ron is, and also works with the Common Law Court in the UK. So he will be answering the questions to common law on tonight's show. So first of all, what is common law? Well, Geoff, can you give us a description of how you see could you just describe for beginners what common law is?
Right, okay. I call it constitutional common law. Basically, it starts off with the Magna Carta, 1215, Article 61. That's where Carta. Incidentally, this was actually brought back in 2001 without many people knowing. On the 23rd of March, it was invoked by the barons because the Nice Agreement was signed by Tony Blair around that time, and the barons said this is unlawful, and they actually invoked Article 61. So that's a little bit background there on the oath, and the rest of common law is basically, it's almost like common sense to people. It's a law of the land in simple terms. There's various things you need to do to actually abide by common law. Basically, you need to do your birth certificate and, well, take ownership of your birth certificate and your fictitious name. And that's your legal fiction. That's a straw man.
Right. Yes. So the straw man is a very important thing. Now, many people were saying, well, how can they do that? How can they take over their name and their fictitious name? How can they take it back? Because this is very important if you want to be a sovereign citizen again, or maybe the words sovereign and citizen are not ideal. Sentient person, no, not person. You have to be very careful with terminology here. Sentient man or woman. How about that?
Right. Basically, for me, I tend to use the Oxford Dictionary definitions for words. So if I say any words, look it up in the Oxford Dictionary, not the Black's Dictionary of Law, because that tends to put different meanings to the words, and you can tie yourself up on it.
Yes, that's a good tip.
Take heed and use the Black's Law Dictionary terms.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, that's I've been looking into common law for about 2 or 3 years now. But only today did I hear the definition of, I'm using the English language according to the Oxford Dictionary. I mean, if you're American, maybe you'd say the Webster's Dictionary or something like that, but not the Black's Dictionary. Because if you don't define a dictionary, then the lawyers will use the Black's Dictionary and use the alternative meanings, like instead of understand, it means stand under me, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
And so now I told the viewers in the invitation that they should watch the videos, which we've also played on the show, which can be found in the forum in the common law section. So have you guys had a chance to have a look at that? Right in the chat? Yes, yes, yes. I've one yes so far.
No, haven't heard it.
You haven't heard it? Okay. Right. So what we can do is there's a short one and there's a long one. The long one would take a quarter of an hour, and I think we should skip that. But I can show you the short one. That's about 5 minutes long, 4 minutes long. And that should be able to give a brief introduction on what a straw man is. But maybe you can give a little bit more details while I look for the video.
Right, okay, straw man. So basically, when we're all born, our parents were very diligent and they went to the registry office and registered our births. In doing so, under legalese or the maritime admiralty maritime law, they created a straw man. This is a legal fiction. It's not you, it's your name in capitals. It might have Mr. in front, legal fiction. Basically, when they created this legal fiction, they also created a life bond, or a cess came from a public fund. And for people before a certain date, I think it was about 1960 something, they actually put £33,000 for UK people into it. And after that date, they put into the various, it's sold, your birth certificate is sold all around the world. And when you get to 18, you can actually claim this money, but no one knows about this because it's hidden away. So there's a 7-year window when you can claim this money. So up to 25, but you still can claim it, but there are risks in trying to claim it.
Yeah, I heard about those risks, that that you can actually end up in court or in prison for doing that. I think Grant was telling us this. So this is a video called Meet Your Straw Man, which just gives you a basic introduction as to what the straw man is. And it's actually quite well done. There's some lady who explains it pretty well. This was made for a company called tpuc.org, which no longer exists because the owner of that website unfortunately passed away.
Ah, the government. It loves you and wants to keep you safe and well. It even wants to make paying taxes, fines, and court costs easier for you. How? Well, you'll need to meet your straw man. He was born the same day you were. He looks like you, has the same name, and lives in your house, but you never knew he existed. You will have even paid his parking tickets or taxes. The worst part? He's been dead from day one. From every birth certificate, a legal personality, or legal fiction, is created with the same name to confuse little old you into thinking it's you. So there is a human you and a paper you, or as it's commonly known, a straw man. So when it seems like government officials, court clerks, or the police are speaking English, they aren't. They're speaking legalese, designed to make you agree to verbal and written contracts without even knowing about it, all spun from Black's Law Dictionary. For example, when the police say, "Do you understand?" you'll say, "Yes." What they are really saying is, "Do you stand under our authority?" Oops-a-daisy, you just created a verbal contract with them. Oh, you clever government. Did you know that whenever you register something, you are handing over title to the person you register it with? That's right. Whenever you register something with the government, they assume it belongs to them. Registered your car? Super! Now you are the registered keeper of your vehicle, and the government can crush it when you don't pay your, straw man's taxes. Expecting a new bundle of joy? Well, then you need to register your little darling with a birth certificate. Then they can start the process all over again and create a new straw man for your little one. Isn't that great? So when Junior grows up, he'll be able to generate revenue just like you have. When you notify on your baby by signing the birth certificate, your child becomes a ward of state, and if the government doesn't like what you're doing, they'll assume it's okay to take the child away, or make new rules for things they don't like. Not enough school? Smacking your child? Shouting too loudly? Then it's off to social services for the little one. When you get a bill, it's sent to you, but belongs to your straw man, not you. That's why bills, fines, and summons start with Mr., Mrs., or Ms. Sometimes you'll see your surname in capitals, just like on a gravestone. That's because your straw man is dead, and just a silly piece of paper, created before you could comprehend or even consent to it. When you go to court, you represent your straw man, so you, the human, take on any costs, fees, taxes, and fines involved for the straw man. The human you doesn't even need to pay them. But you made a contract with the court by appearing on behalf of your legal personality or straw man, just like the government knew you would. Confused? Well, don't worry. The government doesn't want you to know anyway. If you knew, you'd stop paying things like council tax and parking tickets. Because when you go to court, you are representing your straw man. You are you, alive and made of flesh and blood. Your straw man, or legal personality, is a piece of paper created from your birth certificate. And you think it's you. What a silly Billy. Would you like to know more? Well, then go over to tpuc.org. Get up, get informed, and get real.
I think that gives a reasonably good brief introduction to what common law is about, and that we've all been lied to by the state as to our, who we are. They're taking away our civil law or our common law rights as a not as a person, as a man or woman. And instead, doing business, writing to us, whatever you get written to, it's always Mr. or Mrs. or Ms. Because that is the name of the straw man, not the man or woman. So what did you think of the video, Geoff?
That was very good, thank you. Let me just get back onto the screen. Yeah, it was good. It gives a very good viewpoint of what a straw man really is. One thing about it doesn't mention about the bond which created, which is the registering of the birth certificate, and that bond actually carries on after you've parted the world as well. So basically, the government skim off the profit from the bond even once you've passed away. So I'm not sure where the money goes, whether that goes back into the investment with the new birth certificates, or whether it goes into supporting wars and drugs.
Yeah, I'm sure the government will find plenty of things to do with our money. But I think that's the Cestui Que Vie Act, isn't it? Which is that's about. That means that when your birth is registered, not only are your rights being given to the government, basically, but also a bond is set up, and it is traded on the stock market. And we have rights to the bond in that we're allowed to sign or whatever. But of course, most of us don't even know this exists, and we don't know that often we're worth millions. So can you tell us more about these bonds, Geoff?
Well, basically, every time you do a registering with various government bodies, new bonds are created. and you can actually check this. I can't remember the website, but you can check the different bonds through different government numbers. So like if you've been in the armed forces, you have a service number, and you will have had a bond created against that service number. Probably when you register a car, there's another bond created there. When you do a university degree, you get a student number, and there's probably another bond created there. So there's various bonds created. So the more you interact with the government system, the maritime law system, you tend to have more and more bonds created for you.
And it's possible to get the money out of these bonds. I think it's called Cestui Que Vie, something like that.
Yes, it is.
So can you tell us about that? Because this is something which has not been talked about very much on this show.
I can tell you what I know about Cestui Que Vie, that sometimes companies will actually fool you into giving away details, and they'll actually take money from your Cestui Que Vie. And by the time you are 18, it's worth millions of pounds, or millions. And by the time you get to 40 or 50, it could be in the billions region. So I thought it was only sort of like millions by the time you get to 40 or 50, but I've heard now that it can actually get lots of noughts behind it. So some people might be sort of like 100 billion on their Cestui Que Vie, which then makes you wonder whether that's why there was so much gold found in the Vatican and under Buckingham Palace. They've been investing a lot of it in gold.
Yes, that's right. So actually, we should actually have rights to this money because it's been done in our name.
I'm thinking that's where NGESARA and GESARA come in, and the QFS is that's how there's going to be a lot of money to be shared out for the projects.
Mm. So it looks like bright times. Even without GESARA, we should be able to somehow claim money from our own funds. This is something which is possible today.
It is possible. I'm not sure the process. So there's been various private enterprises set up to get the money, and they've been embezzling it. So you have to be very careful. Yes.
I can see in the chat someone's asking me for a link for the video. If you go to the forum, a common law section, there's a pinned post. That's where you'll find that video. Right. So, for example, I'm a British man. Obviously, there's going to be a Cestui Que Vie count in the name Mr. Peter Walker. How would I go about accessing that?
I don't honestly know how you'd do it. I don't know whether any of our audience would know.
I know Grant has been talking about it in the past. And Patrice wants to say something. I can see Patrice put her hands up. No, switch the microphone on and switched off again. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I did write this down, and I did search for myself, although it's a Swiss, now I'm registered with my Swiss, it's like the Swiss Social Security number. You use your Social Security number, but you have to, if there are some dots or spaces, you have to replace with the stroke, the middle, not the underscore.
A dash.
Minus, yes. And I'm just going to type it into the chat is GMEIUTILITY.org/search. I was checking on my phone. I'm going to type it in the chat.
That's right. I can see that Ron, who's obviously watching the show, has also put it in the chat just now. But okay, if you put it in again, that would be great. So another means of us.
I I did actually check mine, and I was very disappointed because the people I spoke with, apparently they have university degrees and they had a lot of worth of money, and I found myself not being that much compared to them, and that made me laugh because they had hundreds of lines, and I don't know, maybe I had 100 line. I think they had 300 or 600 lines, as their contract registered. And I thought, well, okay, I'm not of interest. That's good enough for me. The less I have, the better it is. But it was kind of frustrated because everyone was telling me they had so many and they were like shocked. And then I scrolled and I'm like, okay, well, it's not that much, but I thought that's funny. But then there is nothing much I could do with it, as you just look at it and you're like, oh, I just need more information to figure out what is the next step.
Yeah, that's right. And how to claim back on the Cestui Que Vie account. That's certainly a thing which I think a lot of people here would be interested in find, but we may not need it because we're expecting the GESARA to come in this month. We don't know the exact dates. Dates which have been mentioned are the 4th of July, well, that's tomorrow, or the 11th of July, that's next week, or the end of July. So these are all possible dates. We don't know which one it is. Nobody knows until it happens. Certainly, it makes a lot of sense that GESARA, or at least the QFS, or the revaluation should happen before the 11th of July, because 120 days from the 4th of July is the dates for the American elections. And you have a 120-day window for new elections to be set up. So that's why the 11th of July is going to be a very important date. And a lot of people think that is the date when GESARA is going to be announced at the latest, or GESARA. So when that comes through, then we're going to get a lot of money anyway, because we'll be getting our taxes back, and we'll be getting interest from loans back, and all kinds of things. And if any of us who have currency, and I think a lot of us do, can also then exchange their currency to the new thing. So great things could be happening to us this month. And of course, the world should be switching to the 1776 Constitution of the USA under common law. Do you know anything about that, Geoff?
I do know that there's amendments to it, and that was going to be rolled out to the world. I thought it had already happened unofficially on the 15th of May, because there was a ceremony at DC where they lowered the flags.
Right. So it officially happened, but it just was not announced. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
Well, it's sounding exciting to me. Of course, a lot of us are sort of, just waiting for it to happen, or a lot of our friends are sort of still not believing any of this is going to happen. So, what would you say to those people?
Well, I'd say, look at my car and my motorbike. I've got common law plates on there, so it's an indication things are actually really changing. I also have a common law court passport and an ID. Although I am finding it really difficult to actually use those items in reality, because there's so many people unawake, they're sleeping still. I tried to use my ID in the local bank and to get a large sum of money out, and they refused it. They said, I don't recognize that. You've got to use a government issued passport or driving license. Mm. So I actually raised the customer service complaint on it, saying that, look, it's a picture ID. It's a formal launch from a court, which is the common law is the only law of the land. And anyway, they raised it as a complaint, and I've received an email saying they've got my complaint and they're dealing with it. But I'm not sure what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah, that would be interesting to find out how that turns out. Now, Yeah, I've been a little bit reticent to order a common law passport because I think, you know, what border control is going to accept it.
Right. Okay. Having done the common law court course, one of the things we did speak about and were enlightened about was the use of the passports in reality. And there have been cases where people have had success. Some people have actually made mistakes by using their existing passport number when they booked a flight. The secret is to use your common law passport when you book the flight. What you need to do is use the CLC and then the numbers at the end of the common law court passport number. And if you do that, then it keeps it consistent then. So when you show your passport, it's much easier. The other thing is to make sure you carry your caution card with you. Can you see that one?
Not really, it's a little small, but just tell us what's on it.
So basically, I must caution you, whereas I stand under Article 61 of the Magna Carta 1215, which was invoked in March 2001, according to the Constitution Protocol, any attempts to enforce unlawful acts, statutes, or legislation on me or any member of my family will be taken as an act of high treason, for which you will stand trial before a jury of the people, and which still carries the gallows. I urge you to consider Nuremberg. I was just doing my job. Is no defence. As evidence at those trials, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Maxim at law. Anything you or any action taken by you against myself or my family will be used before the jury. To deny constitutional law is sedition at common law and carries full asset stripping and life in prison. Do you understand? So they do use understand on the caution.
Yeah, well, you're basically asking them to stand under you, don't you?
Exactly.
Yeah, so why not use you understanding that session? Yeah, that meaning. It's that's interesting. You know, I mean, I don't have the passport yet. I might order it, but again, I would be rather concerned crossing a border that they'll just not let me over and say, sorry, unless you show me your proper passport, we won't let you in. Did that come up in your training?
I mean, there were one or two people who'd had difficulty with it, and they'd ended up showing their normal passport. But for me, I'm not flying at the moment, but if I was flying and I wanted to seriously travel, I would actually go for it. I'd actually try to use it, and I'd actually stand my ground on it. Yeah,
well, yeah, that's right. I'm personally on the common law passport. I have no problem showing my normal passport because at the end of the day, there's no real trade happening. All I'm doing is saying who I am, and I'm just crossing a border. So I have no problem still using my existing normal British passport, but it's an interesting concept. What also intrigues me is getting your car registration under common law, because when you register a car, as we just heard in the video, you're actually giving ownership of the car to the state, and then you're just a registered user, no longer the registered owner of the car. And that is what the common law court car number plates is supposed to be addressing. So can you tell us something about that?
Right, okay.
Peter, can I come in here?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Hello, Ron.
Hello.
Yeah.
I wanted to just say, sorry, I'm not that good. I just wanted to say that we have to remember that the common law under the Constitution is the highest law of the land.
Yes.
And your Admiralty Maritime law is the law of the sea. It's the law of the high seas. So it covers every land in the world. This is the difference where you keep it simple. Our common law is common sense, as Geoff was saying earlier on. but the common sense is the fact that this all goes back to the 10 Commandments, and as long as we do no harm and have no harm done to us, there is no problem with them, and you cannot overrule anything in the common law of the land. That's why we go to common law. Okay,
now what I would say to that is, what if I'm, say, getting on a ferry to cross from France to the UK? They could say, look, you're crossing the sea, so the law of the sea is valid for that crossing.
Yeah, but if you think about it, you're actually getting on land and you're getting off on land. So yeah. The point is, the law of the sea cannot jump in the middle of it, because you've still got the higher law. The law of the land, which is what you travel under, is a higher law.
Yeah. So it's more a problem of getting people to basically accept it, because they won't know it. I think that's the biggest problem. You know, what people don't know.
If you listen to the caution that Geoff was using, the last part of that says, if you deny constitutional law, you're in sedition against common law. And that is quite a severe sentence. So you're denying that it actually exists. And it's also talking about ignorance. If you have ignorance of the law, and that's same in any laws across the world. If you're ignorant, it's no excuse. So you've got them on all ways if you think about it, but you've got to stand in your own truth and understand what they're trying to do, or should I say, comprehend what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
We are living men and living women, but by doing the oath, you're a sovereign living man and a sovereign living woman, because you are the sovereign, we the people of the world. And the idea is not to conflict with anybody, is to come together in peace and harmony and equality, because we're all worth exactly the same as each other. We've all got gifts that are given to us that we need to share with each other, because that's how we're going to get on. And if you go back to when I came out of the Second World War, there was no food, there was rationing. But we all got together, all the neighbours got together and grew their own vegetables and salad in the garden at the back. And people used to grow more than they needed, so they could share it amongst all the other neighbours. And that's how we actually got over a lot of the problems with the food, because there wasn't any. Literally, it was rationing for everything. And you could only get what was brought in if occasionally. But then you found out all the other people who used to run small holdings, they would actually start again, and they would bring the livestock in and the free range chickens and all this sort of thing. So we were still eating that sort of food, way back into my 20s and 30s, basically. We were still going and getting our grow your own, as it was, but you can't see that anymore these days. We need to get back to that, because we're all working together for the same purpose. We're all helping each other for the same purpose.
Yes. And in fact, growing your own food is probably quite wise now, when you see how much the deep state is trying to destroy the food supply.
Well, many of us have already started, and in lots of people are going back to their allotments and buying extra land and buying old greenhouses that haven't been used for years and things like that. You can get them pretty cheaply, but if you get a crowd of you all actually working together, it doesn't take that long to actually grow. And we've already got food down in Chichester going today, but there are lots and lots of people. One of our colleagues here is growing his own veggies in the garden anyway already. So we need to have started this a while ago, when we were warned about the shortage of food. We're too used to going down to the supermarket and getting what we want. They ain't going to be in it there anymore, because most of the food that is produced is tainted. It's actually poisoned. So we need to get that back into there, and work together. That's really what it's about. Work together in equality. There is no hierarchy in common law. We're all the same under God. Okay, I'll leave that with you anyway, because my throat's getting a bit sore.
Oh, right, yes. Ron West did say that he has health problems today, so it's really great that he was able to come in and say a few words. We have the food shortages, which are up and coming. So I've been thinking of talking to local farm, because where I live there are 2 or 3 farms which have farm shops, and just simply asking them if I can say buy upfront food for the coming year, and if they can just pick it up there and have the rights to pick it up there, that's what I was thinking of doing. Let them do the work. I'll pay them extra for the work, and then I don't have to start doing all the heavy lifting and buying the land and stuff. But you know, I haven't tried that yet, but I will be contacting my local farm and seeing if they'll go along with that. It's just my idea of maybe solving the food problem. And you know, if you're looking for a single food which will help you survive, it's potatoes, because you can live on virtually just potatoes alone, you know, and well, obviously drinks and stuff, because there is, if you know, if you eat it properly and with it does provide most of the food. I mean, anybody who's seen the film The Martian will see how John Watney managed to survive for 3 years on potatoes.
I thought you were going to say the advert with the Martians in it, Smash.
Well, whatever. No, I meant the movie The Martian.
Yeah.
With John Watney, and well, actually, an excellent film. I've watched it many times. It's one of the, yeah. There are some films you can watch once and that's it, and there are other films where you can watch it again and again and you still find something new in it, and that's one of those films. Anyway, back to common law. Now we were talking about number plates. Now number plates is very interesting because if you can, when you buy a car, and I intend to be buying a car soon. You can register it directly with common law court number plates, and then you can retain ownership of your vehicle. The only thing is, will it be accepted by the state?
If I just wind back a bit on the registering directly with the common law court, I just recently bought a new car, and basically when I tried to get the dealership to actually sell me the car, without actually registering with DVLA, which is the Driver Vehicle and Licensing Agency in the UK, they said, we can't do that. And I had an email come through from the managing director saying that we must, by the law of England and Wales, register it with you as the keeper with DVLA. So immediately when they sent me the forms through to electronically sign the item for getting the tax on the vehicle, I signed it, and then I immediately put a deed in with the common law court to take ownership of the car. So even though I hadn't taken delivery of the car, I was already the owner before I paid anything other than the deposit. So basically, when you go through the common law process, you create a deed for ownership of that car. And you need to get the insurance, which is based on a bond against your Cestui Que Vie. So you get a traveller's insurance bond. That bond is up to the value of £4 million in the UK. They'll do it equivalent in other countries. But basically, all insurance companies, even the ones in the maritime law side, actually use your Cestui Que Vie for the amount. I don't know if it's 4 million as well, but they also go against your Cestui Que Vie when you're doing claims, which I never knew about until recently. So for the insurance bond, basically it covers you for fully comp. So basically it covers the third party and yourself for the insurance. In the UK, it's about equivalent to £250, but you pay in Crouon, which is a gold-backed currency which the common law court has created for purchases with their small, I'll say company. It's a non-profit making company. With the Crouons, they take equivalent of 10 Crouons per month charge, which is actually used for setting up, sponsoring other activities and new activities they're bringing on, like a medical, family medical service. They're also doing an education service for families. They also do limited support for people who need help with common law case cities.
You've frozen there, I think.
Yeah, I was just saying that they use the money as well to support building their website and taking on more administration staff, because they've got small support all the queries and sending out the details. But anyway, coming back to the number plate, they've got practically every combination up to 8 letters and numbers available.
What I heard was you're talking about you can have any combination of letters and numbers up to 8 digits. Is that right?
Yeah, up to 8 digits. So if you're guessing fast, you can actually get a custom plate for what you want. So if you've got, if you want to have your name as the registration, sorry, not registration, the number plate, you're okay. But once you've done this, the plate comes through and it has the postal tracking number on the bottom, which actually makes you, well, your car cargo. It's the same as the passport. The passport has the Union of Postal, what is it? The Universal Postal Union number on it.
Right.
Your passport and your number plate on your car. So basically, it treats you and your passport as cargo. So you can't stop mail or cargo going through the mail system. So basically, it treats you as like mail, and that's to protect you in terms of the maritime law. And it's the same with your car. Your car has that number on as well. So it's quite a clever scheme. But you can't actually have a mix and match with common law and traditional registration through the government system. You need to go stay one side or the other side. So I've gone the other side. I'm the first one I've seen around this area who's done that. So basically, I've got common law plates on the car. I have to carry the insurance bond in the car in case I get stopped. It's quite a good process that John Smith has organised for us. That's John Smith from Common Law Court has actually organised for us, because it went to the Transport Secretary in London. There was a letter sent saying that for the Cestui Que Vie, and also you alert your chief constable in your county or your area that you're actually going to be driving under common law, and you also notify your local police station. So once you've done that, you're lawful to drive on the road with your common law plates. And basically, it carries some fines within the documentation you carry, which says for the UK it's £500 if you get stopped. Your travel gets impinged by road police or policemen. And then there's a kidnapping rate on there. I can't remember what the kidnapping was. I think it was 20 million. And there's another one for injuries sustained as well by the police arresting you, incarceration. So it's included within that documentation. So basically, if you get stopped and the policeman goes further than just asking you to help him with inquiries, then you can actually bring that letter out and show it to him.
Okay, so what happens if the police ask you for this documentation? You show it to him, and he says, well, that's not official. That's just a Mickey Mouse document. You invented that. You wrote it yourself. I don't recognize it. What happens then?
I would actually say contact my local police station or the one in the city where I sent it to the chief constable.
Okay.
And that's not beyond him to actually check out whether it's correct, because there should be records in those two places.
Sounds interesting. I mean, well, so I'm waiting for the RV money comes in for buying my next car. So maybe that'll be null and void anyway, because we'll be moved to the common law system. But if I can, I'll register it that way and just see. It'll be an adventure, if anything.
Can I just come in here again, Pete? Sorry.
Yes, no problem. Anytime.
Geoff, there was a video that came out this morning, or was it yesterday?
Yes, I did send
about the common law court. Yeah, explains it extremely well.
Yeah, I saw it.
You want to share that with the people, because that ties up a lot of things that the common law court is not. A lot of people think it's a company. It's not. It's us, people. We own it.
Yeah, I saw that. It will be a bit long to show in the show because it's like 30 minutes or something, isn't it? But what we can do is share the link to the video, and then people can watch it afterwards. In fact, I will add it to. In fact, I think I've already added it to the forum. So if you go into the common law section of the of our forum, there is a link to that video already there.
Yeah. So Geoff was also saying about the if you were saying if the policeman stop you, well, they have to understand that common law is now the law of the land because it's constitution. And
yes.
It's been proven now. And by the way, the UK police is under investigation now. We had something from Mark Sexton the other day that showed how they've now not done the right things about the case in Hammersmith, and they've ignored it all. Well, they can't anymore now because they've blown the whistle on it basically. So the police now stand under you. You always put your authority there first. And if a policeman comes and stops you, you say, first of all, excuse me, but I did not summons you. You're free to go. So you've actually put your authority over his straight away. And then if he starts to argue, you say, are you under oath? And you show the oath, or get them to read out the oath. And all these different things that you've got, he must have a warrant card as well. And he's obliged to give you his name and number. They cannot arrest you when you're under common law. That's exactly where we are now. And as Geoff early on said, the United States is back to the Constitution of 1776 as of the 15th of May, where the Republic of the United States was actually recovered, basically, or reintroduced, with 38 states of the 50. So there's 10 rogue states. There's one that's now been gone and declared itself independent, which is Hawaii, and there's another one rogue somewhere as well. But they have to make up their mind whether they go with the Constitution or not. But now we are getting to the bottom of the the Biden administration. It was never an administration; it was always covered. And by the way, the states is already under the martial law, so everything is done by the military. So we cannot do anything without the military. And this is where we've now got a better constitution than the Magna Carta for us, because we've got the amendments in 1776, as the 1776 constitution was based on the Magna Carta. So we've got additional amendments. It doesn't detract from anything in the Magna Carta. It adds to it, basically.
Yeah, so that's really great. So it's not just the Magna Carta, it is the US 1776 Constitution which is coming into effect.
That's right. And that's why we call our Constitution has been in effect since 2001, but it's been denied by, unlawfully, basically, because we've had no government in this country now for 21 years. And we've had no monarch either. But we can go back into that. We can show you some further evidence that we've never had a monarch. And there is lots of history that goes behind this. It's actually true. And if you see exactly how the monarchy is actually taking its oath of allegiance to the people, the Queen never did in 1953. She signed at the top of the paper and not at the bottom, and that's a fact. That's actually it's actually been shown, and documents and everything, where she did not sign the document at the bottom of the page after reading the oath that she was taking. So therefore, right, she didn't read it.
Ah, okay. That's very interesting. I hadn't heard that one before.
Well, there you go. You see, there's lots of information, but what I'm trying to do is to bring people across to understand that constitutional common law is the way to go. And that will bring us back together and out of all these challenges that we seem to be worried about the police and the authorities. There aren't any. They're actually defunct. And if you listen to the way that the Republic came back, all lawyers and barristers and attorneys in the States have to step down as well, because they are all corrupt, including the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they all have to step down now. And this is where GESARA and NESARA won't come in until we the people get rid of these tyrants that are actually in there unlawfully. And that's as simple as that. You know, we just have the one rule. In fact, if you want to break it out, it's 3, isn't it? It's do no harm, cause no injury, and commit no fraud. But at all times we have to keep the peace. And the only way we can do that is to club together and show them our stance. Now, a few weeks ago in London, a few guys, over 100 of them, got together and they stood in front of the gates at Downing Street, and the policemen were terrified of it because they didn't do anything. They just stood there and looked with their arms folded at the police, and they were frightened stiff. They called the guard police and they said, well, there's nothing going on here. What do you need us for? And drove off. So there was all these things. But if you do that to people, they realise that there are lots more people above them now, and then actually woken up. And that's what we have to do as a country. Come back together, united right across the country, not in just little pockets all over the place. So we've got to come back and do this and stand our ground, stand where we actually come from. We, the people, started this. It's our money from the work and the toil we do that they're taking away from us, calling it taxes, which are voluntary anyway, always have been. But they've made it to the fact that it's not. But they haven't got any leg to stand on now because everything is collapsing around them. But beware of the haymakers. That's all I'm going to say. If you're in a boxing ring and you've knocked a boxer out and he's still standing, he's going to be throwing everything, isn't he?
Yeah.
So we need to be aware of what's going on, and all these silly rules that are coming out to make us wake up, basically, and get together and stand together as a peoples. And we can do it. You know, we've done it before. We can do it again. It's not rocket science. And we have the one law: just do no harm to anybody. And come together. Peace, harmony, and love really is what we need in this country. And you've got even Diana, Princess Diana said, somebody's got to love the people. Well,
that's true.
We are there, aren't we, really, if you think about it, because all the stuff that's been taken away from us now is absolutely collapsing around our ears. The banks are in a mess, but they need standing up against. The banks have been screwing us for years, but it's not like it's just started, and they think they've got the carte blanche to do it all. So there's an awful lot of old age pensioners that can't even afford to live on their old age pension now, because they've got no savings left, and it's all been taken away from them in taxes and all these sort of things. So somebody needs to do something pretty quick to help the people that need it. The other thing that's come into is we've ignored our elderly. Why? That's where all the wisdom is. That's where all the knowledge is. I talk about coming out of the Second World War. Well, I'm be 80 next month. But the point is that happened in my lifetime, and it was very successful. But the reason it wasn't successful in terms of because the Second World War never finished. They got away with an awful lot, although we had the Nuremberg trials. They got away with an awful lot, and we know that they all end up in 3 big countries. One of them, Ukraine. And that's what's going on there now. So that's all I really want to say at the moment. Bring everybody together, because we have to stand together in our own truth. That's it.
But the problem is it's us against them, and they have a lot of power. They have military, they have police. They
don't have any power at all anymore. I promise you. They don't have any power. They used to have power, but with the last bit's been taken away now. The military is always on our side, by the way. Global military is always on our side, because they actually only ones that do an oath of allegiance to the people. They don't do it to governments. They don't do it to these the monarchs are all gone. most of them have been taken and dealt with.
Right, Derek wanted to say something now.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Ron.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron. Derek Betts.
Derek, hi, well done.
Yeah, great. Yeah. I've made contact with that lady. I won't say no more about that. I'm dealing with a case for Ron. Anyway, just wanted to interject on there. I actually wrote as a trustee. We formed a People's Public Trust, small local community, and we help people in law courts and things like that. We go and observe, thank judges for their justice, or we write to them and the social services when they do things that they're not supposed to be doing. Anyway, we found there's 3 cases I've been dealing with and couldn't get nowhere. Police completely wasted time, totally corrupt, all paedophiles, most of them are.
Yeah.
And the sergeant in the police force said to us, the reason he hasn't had promotion is because everybody above sergeant is corrupt. And there was a program on BBC Two Radio. I'm going off the plans with. I'm going to come back on BBC Radio on Thursday morning for about 1 hour, and it was absolutely slating senior police and the police and how they're conducting themselves, and social services were taking children away from parents, creating all sorts of, they're accessing their Cestui Que Vie trust. That's all they want. It's all about money. And also they've taken some children, a 4-year-old and a baby. I couldn't get nowhere. We actually went up to Middlesbrough. The judge wouldn't refuse to let us into the court. That's how bent the judges are. Yeah. Anyway, so I wrote to the senior military base commanders. I wrote 184 letters. I never got a reply.
Okay.
But I didn't get a reply, but one of the children that they took has been released and been given back to the family. And the other child, they were forcibly putting it up for adoption, and it was going to go to a very nefarious family who are probably paedophiles and all sorts. And this is not a one-off case. Ron knows this. This is not a one-off case. This is happening. Some social services people are picked, and police constables and chief constables are picked because of their nefarious ways, and they can be corrupted. That's why they're promoted and get through. And the only way we're going to do that is we all of us here now, you have to write to your military, your local military base, give them the examples, be honest, have integrity, and just say, we ain't putting up with this. And that's the only way we're going to get through, because the police are not in control, neither the government. The military are in control at the moment.
Military, which military are we talking about? Because there is a global military. Are you talking about the British military? Because I've got to say that the British military is still backing the Ukraine against the Russians, and also a part of NATO and part of the United Nations and the EU, don't forget. So I think we can write that off. But if we're talking about a global military now, and the commander-in-chief of the global military is Donald Trump.
No, the military. You should, if you go onto Truth Social.
I'm sorry, but I'm not going to argue today.
Sorry, Ron. Sorry, Ron. I didn't mean to come across argumentative, but look, an American has been put in an American military general has been put in charge of all of NATO troops and UK troops and military bases.
Yeah, it's only just happened.
Yes, but that's but he's been in control.
The outcome of that then.
Yeah, but that's only just been announced. He's been in control now for months. It's only just been announced. He's only just let the public know. So if we want to get somewhere, we need to write to our military bases and say,
right,
what's going on down the road?
First of all, we've got to stand and take our councils out. The councils are the closest thing we've got. And that was done back in 2014 before any of this came up by David Robinson. So we need to get together and look after our local community first, and then tell other people how we do it, because it's plain and simple now. We've actually, both Geoff and I have learned how to convene a common law court, and we can do that now. So we've got somewhere to take these people to, so we can, instead of just reading the caution, we've actually can do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And anybody can be part of that. And the more people you get involved in that, the more you'll get the power back from wherever it is now. but the military should never ever go against you. And if they are, then they are corrupt as well.
Yeah.
This is a British military. I can understand that because it came under the Ministry of War, didn't it, or the Ministry of Defence, didn't it? MOD. Well, it should never have been a ministry in the first place. Military it said its oath to the monarch. There is no monarch. So after there is no monarch, it's we the people, because we put the monarch there. Not Rothschild, as he seems to think. And by the way, he's been dealt with as well. So we have all these things that have been taken out. They did all this 2-3 years ago now.
I don't know what they're waiting for. And the problem with that, Ron,
they're waiting for us to get off our backsides, basically, and do something locally.
Honestly, I'm totally with you. Totally agree with everything that you've said ever since you come on here. But the problem is there's so few of us. And the reason there's so few of us, Ron, is because they're not communicating. The white hats have got to realise they're never going to get through to these people. They're never going to get through to them. They'd always be the same. You're only going to wipe up the people you've
I tend to disagree there, because there are people that we know are awake but don't know what the hell to do. Those are the people which we call the awake sheep, but they are they could be turned into lions in exactly the same way. If you take one of their cases and follow it through and take them out of whatever they're complaining about, and I mean, Geoff started to do it in his own school, because these people do not have the authority they think they have, and this is where you just take it away from them, because we have the higher law. The law of the land, the common law, is the highest law in the land. So let's exercise it, but we do need the numbers to do it. And it starts in the community, getting all the people together in the community, and to get out. It's very difficult for me to actually be there, because I'm not able to get out into the community as I'm severely impaired, But the point is, I can see what's going on, and we can get those people going. And there are many ways to crack a nut, and we've got it here. We've got the knowledge how to do it, and we've got to turn inside and say, is this right? And if it's not right, do something about it. And we all know the difference between right and wrong. It's not a difference between left and right. It's right and wrong. It's good and evil. And the evil is, we've had enough of them. Look at what they're doing to our children, for a start. And it's been going on for donkey's years, and they're even trying to do it now. And the UK was one of the worst of them.
Yeah.
With all the tunnels that go back hundreds of thousands of years, we're into a bigger challenge than most people think. But it has happened in lots of other countries, and something must be going right if you can get a president of one of the biggest countries in the world, China, and the president.
Let me just stop you there, Ron. You can go on and on. Let me just stop you there. Let me just say this, right? I actually don't agree with that bit. What I would say is this: I was part of 2 million people who nearly blocked London last year with the marches, all peaceful. None of it put on mainstream. So yes, sir, all them people, we had a party out here to celebrate the so-called the witch's death, whatever name is, and all my neighbours, they all know. Oh yeah, we know Charlie Ward. We've heard of Peter Walker. Yeah,
but how many of them, Derek?
Let me finish, Ron. Let me finish. What you're gonna? They've all lost heart, because it's not been mentioned in the mainstream, in the media. Their friends are calling them cuckoo, all that sort of thing. And the problem is, until the white hats realise, and they've got to realise, they've got to wake up at some stage. Even they've got to wake up. They're going to have to put it onto mainstream media. They're going to have to tell these people. They're supposed to have told them. And once then the masses will come. I held a local communal for trustees for the local community. We had 13 people turn up. Most of them had turned up since I've been to these before. There's been thousands and hundreds and that. But we did get nowhere. The reason to get nowhere is because you've got nothing behind you. Now they're supposed to be the military of it there. Now, until all this takes off, there's no point in. I don't believe there's any point in doing anything. There's
belief and there's belief, Derek.
Yeah, we can fight for small cases. I fight for individual children cases. Sarah, who I'm fighting for yourself. I've got some really positive news over that as well. But
how many people are under constitutional common law That's our challenge, because that's where your power is, going back to your constitution.
Yeah, but the problem is,
and
well, they don't know
Donald
about
Trump
it.
himself, as well as Winston Churchill, both got us through, you know, quite difficult times by never ever giving up. And this is the whole point.
Yeah. It's not about giving up.
Search
It's about,
inside yourself.
they don't even
find out
understand it.
what the
understand it.
best solution is. You'll find it.
Yeah, we don't understand it because we're not taught it in school. So we have no idea.
Matter. It doesn't
We
matter.
have one or two people like yourself and myself who preach common law.
A lot of it is experience, Derek. You know,
Yeah, sorry.
A lot of it is experience. It's what you learn as you go through life. You learn. You take hold of the good things. Don't keep looking for it can't happen. Say it can happen, and it will.
It can happen.
This is belief in yourself.
Yeah,
and if everybody had that belief, that's how you get things done. Is believing in what you can do.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Peter, but can I interrupt here?
Yeah.
It's a brilliant conversation between Derek and Ron, but it's not what we're here for. We want to learn about how you go about getting registered under common law. We want to learn how to take back your legal fiction. We want to learn how to register your birth certificate. That's the practicalities. We can't do anything. We can't register your car, you can't register your house, you can't register your marriage until you've taken back your legal fiction. That's what we want to hear.
Yes, that's exactly what we've been specialising in. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, that is a very important point, Pat.
Yeah, very important.
So let's get on to those questions, just so that we know that. Now, I've done that. There's the website commonlawcourts.com, which, although it's a British site, it's an international website, and what you do there is valid, as far as I know, anywhere in the world. And basically, you have to go there. You register online first of all your birth certificate. So you basically you give in all the details from when you're born. Then you fill out the form. It's under deeds. You go to commonlawcourt.com, go to deeds. You register your birth certificate first, and then you get an online birth certificate from the common law court. Then you register your legal fiction, which is basically your name. So in my case, it would be Mr. Peter Walker as opposed to Peter Walker, because your legal fiction always has a Mr., Mrs., or Miss, depending on your gender. And so you register those two things. Now, doing that online is free. If you want documentation, and I would recommend doing that, there is a fee for printing it out and sending it to you. And so you can do that. Those I would recommend everybody doing. It's going to cost you, I don't know, £30, something like that. I don't know the exact fees in my head. But it is great. You get the documents in your hand, which you can then show people who you need to show. It's much better than just giving a web link. They'll just say, "Oh, you just made that up" or something. Whereas if you can, they're beautifully bound documents, beautifully printed documents, which you get from the common law court, which you then can present as your common law birth certificate, and also it documents your taking back the legal fiction. Now, a third thing you should do is take the oath to Article 61 of the Magna Carta. Now, there are two ways of doing that. You can do that by filling out a form, which we will add to the recording of this video when we release the video. And then you fill it in. You get 3 people to witness it, and then post it to yourself via registered mail, signed for registered mail. And by doing so, you get a number, an official number, registered with the post office, which documents that. Now, when you get the letter back, don't open it, leave it sealed. And a copy of the document which you've sent, you have a photocopy of that, which you attach the receipt that you posted it. And that you make photocopies of to send when you need to prove that you have signed the oath, or that you for Article 61. That takes you out of the civil system, the statute system, and puts you officially into the common law system. Now, those three things, and now, one thing I have to say, you can also do that over the common law court. I found the deeds on the common law court, and there you fill out a similar form, except that you send it to a baron, and they give you the name and address of a baron, and then instead of posting it to yourself, you post it to the address which is given to you. That's another way of doing it. And then the common law court deed then is your proof that you've done that. So either way, when you've done those three things, you are then officially outside the system, and that's what you can use. Now, carry on.
Sorry, I was going to say, on the Telegram channel, I've actually put details of how you go through the processes for doing the oath and posting it and stuff. It's best to post it back to yourself. It's the easiest way of doing it, because I tried the Baron, and mine got lost in the post. It got sent back chopped up.
Oh, really?
So they totally broke their rules, the post office did, because I sent it special delivery, and it took about a month getting there, and it was returned to me because someone had opened it and chopped it up. Anyway, but I'd done a separate one anyway earlier to that, and it was just that I saw on the common law court that it recommends you send it to the Baron, and I think the Baron might have passed away by now. I don't know. But anyway, I put instructions on the Telegram channel on how you go through the oath. I've also done details on the birth certificate, the fictitious name. I've done a little bit about the car on there. I've done a bit about, I think I covered it, what was it? When a woman's conceived and carrying a baby, you can actually do like a new life deed as well, so that you actually create a deed for it while you're actually going through the birthing process. What I did with my son was I actually added him to my oath under my name. So you can add your children under your name, but you actually go on and sign it, because minors can't do the oath themselves. So I've added him onto the form, so he's actually covered on that side as well.
Right. Now, I'm seeing in the chat, there are people who are still confused. They're saying things like, what can I, when I have these forms, what can I do with it? I mean, how does it change my life? When I want to rent cars, have open bank accounts, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay. I'll explain something about the legal fiction. When you actually, when you do the fictitious name deed, you're actually taking ownership of your fictitious name or your legal fiction. So basically, you take ownership of it away from the government. So you're taking ownership. The same with your birth certificate. You're taking ownership of your birth certificate. So that is part of the process of recording your deeds with the common law court. It's a very strong process, and you can actually then communicate with the various departments like your council and government departments and say, actually, I now own, I've got the deeds for my birth certificate and my legal fiction. So it carries a lot of weight. Then if they actually turn around and deny it, again, it comes back to the caution. But I want to get to the stage where we can actually gather 17 people and actually have some teeth and take some of these people to task on sort of denying your common law rights.
Yes, that's definitely something we should look into. Let me give you some practical examples as I've understood it. If, for example, you have to go to court, in other words, if court, you've done so. I'll give you my case. I had a case. I have a computer printer, and I've leased that, and I have a contract with the company for printing. And over the COVID things, when the money you have in the bank account has been going up and down, there were actually 2 times when my payment was rejected and I didn't notice. I think just there wasn't enough money in the account at the time. The money was taken, and then it was just not paid. But I didn't notice because I was so busy with other things. And anyway, so I was in arrears for 2 invoices. at some point I noticed, or I got a notice from the company saying, "Oh, you're in arrears for this invoice," and I just paid it. But they'd already handed it on to their solicitor or lawyer, as solicitor I know is not the right term in American, but they had been handed on to the lawyer, and he was supposed to be getting me to pay this thing. Well, the first invoice I saw on the document, I've just paid, immediately said, "Look, I've paid, sorry, I made a mistake. I didn't see this. Here, I've paid it, end of story." Of course, the lawyer was not happy with that. Because I didn't know there was a second invoice at the time. So he kept taking it higher and higher and going to court and to sue me for the missing money. And when he then laid it out, "Oh, by the way, there is a second invoice, because you're saying you paid it, but you didn't. There's still an invoice open." And I checked it out in my records and found, I'd put that on the paid pile, so I did not think that was an invoice to be paid. It was probably a clerical error on my side, I don't know. But anyway, as soon as I was aware of it, I just paid the invoice and sent proof of that payment. So now there were no claims from the printer company because I'd already paid everything. But the lawyer still wanted to get paid. And then I said, well, there's no way I'm going to be paying that lawyer because I have no contract with him. In other words, I wrote to him making the case with common law and that I have no contract with him, and so I'm not under no obligations to pay him. I have a contract with the printer company, and I paid those invoices. So my obligation against the printer company was fulfilled. I did not have a contract with the lawyer, so I'm not paying him. And the same applies to the court. I don't have a contract with the court, so I'm not paying. And I wrote this out properly, naming all the laws and everything, and they just kept on badgering me for it, until I came to the point when they basically wanted to start sending bailiffs in for, I think it was 80 euros. It wasn't even a big amount of money. And I basically said, look, I started mentioning that I'd taken the oath, Magna Carta, Article 61, and that either they back off or it could have serious consequences for the judge and for the lawyer, and pointed out a few other things as well. And I sent that, and I gave them 21 days to reply. I think within 4 days I had a reply. They didn't actually say anything. All they did is they cancelled the debt to zero. So with that, basically, I'd won the case because I haven't heard anything since. So that was one application of common law, in that at the end of the day, it protects you from any legal cases from the court. So that was the case where I used it. Also, this if you get fines for your car or things like that, you can use common law to just say, look, I have no contract with you. I'm not paying this. Would you agree with what I'm saying, Geoff?
Yes, I do. I do agree with you. For me, if I actually got a court appearance, summons by the court to appear, basically, I learned on the common law court training course that there is actually a template available which you actually send through to the court. So you don't actually need to go and appear. You can actually complete that form and send it through to the judge. And it's worded in such a way that he can't carry on with the case because it puts your stand forward that you're under the Magna Carta. And if he tries to arrest you and bring you to court, then he is pushing slavery. So
right. So with that, I want to come into a slightly different topic. Now, you could say a relation through marriage of mine is a British guy who is a professor at Royal Holloway University in the UK. And he's a professor of politics. I won't name him by name, but I had a conversation with him. In fact, I had two conversations with him. One was written, and the other one was when I was visiting the Magna Carta myself a few weeks ago. So let's go through the written one first, because he very strongly had different opinions as to what the situation is. I put over the case as I understand it, and he was of the opinion. Well, let me just read you some of the things which he was saying. After I told him about Government UK Limited, that the government is actually a company and not an official state institution, he replied, "How do you know this isn't a conspiracy to make you think there's a conspiracy where there isn't one?"
Here we go again.
Show me the proof.
Why? You're innocent till you're proven guilty.
Right, I don't know who said that, but this is where Sharon has her job to cut off people who are talking out of time, because she's got the host right now. But Geoff, can you answer that question?
I seem to have gone blank on my video at the moment. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. As we hit see and hear you.
Oh, right, okay. I can't see me. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Go back to the question again. I just lost it now because of losing my video.
All right, okay. I started the conversation by putting the case that the UK government, as in just about every government in the world, is a corporation. In other words, not a state institution anymore, if there ever were one, but a corporation. And as a corporation, they're a private corporation. And therefore, under common law, basically, if we don't have agreement with them, what they say is not valid. But and I said, as proof, I pointed out that the UK government, UK Limited, is listed at Companies House.
Right. Okay. Yeah. From my experience, I actually, when I started to get into the Magna Carta, I actually checked out sort of like the chief clerks of the courts, and I realised that they all work for LLCs.
Yes.
I have seen that many of those clerks have actually resigned recently as well. So I'm not sure why they've all resigned, but I see there's a whole list of clerks, and it says resigned down beside them. So I'm not sure how the courts are running with so few staff. But it's the same with councils and all the government departments, which you thought were like public. They're all limited liability companies making profit. And when you look around your countries, you'll see that the councils or the local governments own so much land, and they've taken over buildings in places. It's like we've got a local sports and social club. In fact, I can see it out the window, and it was built for us, the people, by the building company who constructed the site, and they've actually, the council have taken it over. So it only took them about a year, and the council said, well, we put it out to tender to private individuals to take it over and manage it, and no one wants to take it, so we'll muscle in and take over it. So the council now are occupying the building across the road, and I think that's wrong. It should be by the people.
Well, that's because when you buy a property, you actually sign a lot, which is a lease of tender or whatever it's called. Or I'm not quite sure about the third word there, but basically you're giving ownership to the state when you buy a property, and you don't realize that. You think you're buying it, it's just being registered, but the registering gives the ownership to the state, and that's how they can get away with this kind of thing.
Exactly. Another thing worth mentioning is when you take a mortgage, you're actually borrowing your own money and paying interest on it because it comes from your Cestui Que Vie.
That's right. Yes, that's right. So if anybody is suing you because they gave you a loan and saying you owe them the money back, then ask them where the money comes from and say, didn't it come from the Cestui Que Vie? In other words, it came from yourself. So it's actually illegal, the loan they gave you, because all they're doing is giving you your own money.
Exactly, and then charging you interest on it.
And then charging you interest on your own money. It's just that we don't understand how to get our own money from the Cestui Que Vie account, and they do. That's all. That's the only difference. So anyway, when I talked about Company's House, he said, "Oh, that isn't that a conspiracy to make you think there's a conspiracy when there isn't one?" You know, so he basically did not believe it. And when I talked about Company's House, he said, "Well, Company's House is part of the government, so surely, you know, that proves that it all belongs to the government." And now someone's trying to call me, but I'm not available, obviously. Anyway, that was just one point. It was actually a minor point. Let me move on to a more important one in that discussion when I can do that. I asked him about the Magna Carta. Now, this is something he knows about because he lives in Staines, which is very close to Runnymede, where the Magna Carta is. And he's taken a particular interest in the Magna Carta. So I just said that the Magna Carta is common law, the Magna Carta represents common law, and there's maritime law, which is only by consent. And then I told him about Article 61 was invoked on February 23rd, 2001, and that means the Queen is constitutionally deposed and the Parliament dissolved. And then I asked him, is this true or conspiracy theory, just to see how he reacted. And his answer is, it's not true. And I thought,
I believe it's true because I've seen references. It was actually covered by the Daily Telegraph in an article back in 2001. So it was actually published, but then quickly covered up. David Robinson also had extensive evidence of it as well. I don't know if Ron's still on or not, but because Ron knows the history of David Robinson.
Yes, I am. We're getting away from a couple of things again. If you look back at common law, you've got 20 unalienable rights. And one of the things that came up there was the right to be innocent until proven guilty. So your friend is asking you to prove yourself innocent. So it's not really in his place to do that. But if we look at what we're here for, all of us, what we're here for is to get life, freedom, health, and the pursuit of happiness. That was the number one rule in the unalienable rights, which go alongside common law. Constitutional common law is what we're talking about, Peter. It must have that constitution in it because that's Magna Carta.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that came up was the way that you send your oath on. As long as you send it by registered post, you can even send it to yourself. It's gone. You have the registered postmark, which becomes attached to your original copy of your oath, and with the 3 wet signatures on it, preferably done in red ink, but it's not absolutely vital. But that is part of your affidavit. And that's a proof that you're actually under constitutional common law. That's the only thing that you need to ever show anybody, because that's it. And under those things, you can actually tie your house up. You have window notice for your house to stop anybody coming in, because nobody's allowed into your house without your permission anyway, in either law. But the point is they can't even break in without committing an offence.
Mm-hmm.
So and policemen were prepared to do that. I think that's all come a cropper now. And this is where the more we find out of how they're failing, the more we broadcast it, the better it is. And if you go back now to the Constitution, the Company's House. Company's House is part of the monarchy because it's all crown land. It's all owned by the monarchy, but the monarchy is no longer. We know that. It hasn't been since 2001. So the government actually was taken down and went into receivership in June 2018, and it was liquidated at the end of 21. So that was over a year ago nearly now. It was actually completely liquidated, as were all the governments right across the world. So they're all unlawful, every one of them. And the other thing you've got to remember is anything legal is not lawful.
That's true, yeah.
That's really all you need to understand. But if you can get people to look at the 20 unalienable rights, that's what we're here for, to actually get back to those rights, because they were never taken away, because you can't take sovereign rights away from anybody. They're given to you at birth, and they're given to you by your creator, basically. So if you want further proof, go into Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 to 28 and read it, because it says in there, man has dominion over the earth and the animals. Okay, and further down you've got a passage that actually tells that all men are equal in the eyes of the God, on the eyes of the Lord. Yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, you know, I continued this conversation with him. I think I actually sent you the text.
I'd like to actually have a chat to him, basically, to find out where he gets this information from, because he's been misled, like all of us have been over many, many years.
Yeah, maybe I can arrange that. And he's saying that Magna Carta has little more relevance. He's basically saying it's no longer valid.
Then he's a traitor, because that's exactly why the barons brought it in 2001. The barons were originally the Knights of the Realm, and they agreed with the people to actually administer the security clause, which is chapter 61, or as we know, it's article 61. It's a complete chapter of the Magna Carta, and it's quite it's called a security clause as well as a treason clause, and it needs to be monitored, and it's monitored by 25 barons minimum, and there's over 100 of them in existence all the time. But they always have that cover. But they've done their job. They did their job in 2001, in March 2001. And now nothing will happen until we get redress. Well, redress is what we, the people, have got to come forward and you know, join together and bring redress. Get rid of all these people that think they own the place, and they don't. Because every corporation had one thing and one thing in mind, and that was to make money for their shareholders. So they weren't interested in you at all. The government's certainly not interested in you, because it's taking money and putting it back into the coffers of the cabal, and you know where it all ended up in the basements of the Vatican. But that's only part of the gold across the world. The real gold is owned by the elders in China, and here we go. There's lots and lots of places now you'll find around the world, especially places like Zimbabwe. It's gold in abundance underneath. It just needs to be mined. And another place is the Philippines as well. There's lots of gold there, but there's enough gold for everybody in this world to be a millionaire. That's 7.4 billion people or something. You know? And we've already got 3 big countries now in the gold standard, and it's that close that we're on there. But we need to raise up. Most of those other countries were already together, especially the Chinese, because they were forced to be together, but it's been turned around. And the Russians too, because they were used to the CCP, sorry, the USSR, not CCP, USSR. And the other one is India. Well, India had to do it because, you know, most of the child trafficking came out of India with Mother Teresa. And we know that the evil was done through the Freemasonry movements right across the world.
Yes, that's right.
In their you know, degrees and all these different things. But everything has been hidden from us. And what we have to remember is that GESARA has lots of stuff in it, and you can find it out from gesara.news, where you go into it and you look at the Act, and the Act actually says what's going to come. And we've got 6,000 technologies that are coming. Well, you talk about medbeds, it's just one of them.
That's right, yes.
But Geoff and I are wearing another one already, because we actually have something that was brought out by Simon Parkes or his group, and it's called Biometric Trinity, and it's already talking about different frequencies and things. So we need to get rid of all this tyranny and all this distraction and bring our people back together again, where we can stand up again and rule the country as we used to.
Okay, I can see in the chat that a lot of people are getting confused about what we're talking about, saying things like this is a discussion amongst experts and they don't really understand what it's all about, which I can understand. Whatever, I'll use the Oxford Dictionary and say I can understand. Basically, I think a lot of people here want to know what they can do in their own lives to improve their lives by using common law court life or common law. And I think we have covered that to a great extent in that you go to the common law court, you register the deeds, preferably get them sent to you, get a common law court identity card, which you can show, maybe even get a passport, I don't know. You can get these deeds. It'll cost you a few pounds, but it is a means of identifying yourself. I'll tell you why it's important. At the moment, when you go to open a bank account or and you're asked to identify yourself, the only identity documents you have are from the state. In other words, from documents based on your legal identity, in other words, the false identity. Not you as a man or woman. So getting these documents provides you with documents where you can identify yourself as a living human being. That's, I think, a very important aspect of this and why it is important to get these documents. That makes you immune to things which the government wants to do to you. So if the government wants to say you have to take this vaccine, for example, then you can stand up and say, I'm a living human being, and this law, this mandate, whatever you do, does not apply to me. It is a protection against bad laws from states. That is, I think, one of the powerful reasons for a common law identity card, passport, taking back your identity. Would you agree with that, Geoff?
Yes.
And so I carry on.
Yeah, I would actually start off by completing the birth certificate deed, then do the fictitious name deed, and then do your oath in parallel. I mean, that's the way I did it, and I felt great once I'd done that because I felt free for the first time in my life.
That's what I've done too, yes.
But the next thing is that the harder part is actually, or the challenging part is actually integrating with the world. It's actually getting people to actually believe you for a start, that you're in a different law system to what they're in. And a lot of people are jobs worth. They actually want to carry on doing their job and they don't want to get fired. So it's persuading people and going to the right points in these limited liability companies, in the corporations, to actually get your voice heard. And as Ron said earlier, for us in the UK, we need to actually take down the councils, because that's one of the big issues we've got in our local areas, is actually take down the councils or governors, so that you can actually change things radically.
Okay, now going back to my friend at the university, he was trying to say that it's the other way around, that UK statute law is legally supreme, as he put it, and that the common law is common laws he describes as a law based on jury decisions, that basically, it's case law, and that common law is based on what juries have decided in the past. That's how it is described by him, which to a certain extent I believe is true. And so he describes it differently to the way we understand it, that you have these basic 3 or 4 laws which are valid and your inalienable rights. Now, how would you describe the differences in perception?
I mean, for me, if you take a situation where you've got someone in court, they're treated as a dead person when they're in front of a judge. They can't speak for themselves. You have to have a lawyer who's passed the bar to actually speak for you. So when you go in the dock, you're treated as lost at sea. but under common law, you can actually pull together your own court. You need 12 jurors from the public. And if you look at the mathematics of it, you've got one judge condemning someone for a crime. Under common law, you've got 12 people deciding whether that person's broken the law. So you've actually got 12 people against one. And I'd say it's more valuable having 12 people deciding on a case than one person. I mean, that's straight away in the argument. And you would do common law jury and trial would actually be just as comprehensive in terms of ensuring you've got evidence and it's all signed off as you would in a court. And it's lower cost as well because people volunteer to help you.
Right, okay, but the argument there would be, okay, you can make a decision in your common law court with your 12 people. Who's going to enforce it? The police are also an LLC. The police are also a private entity. So who's going to enforce what you decide in that court?
Right, okay, there's constables being appointed at this time. There's already a lot of constables, peace constables. There's also sheriffs. So there are people being appointed at the moment. In America, you've already got the sheriffs anyway. You've probably all heard of Sheriff Mack, and he's doing a fantastic job spreading the word on constitutional common law around America. And I have a lot of time to listen into what he's saying as well to his shows. But I would say that the infrastructure is being built up quickly. One of our friends, well, one of our colleagues, Ron and mine, that is already trained as a constable, peace constable. So we just need a few more to make up our jury, and we're there. So we can actually arresting people and trying them.
So maybe there are people amongst our midst, particularly if they're living in the UK, who would like to volunteer to take part and become part of such a thing. What would that entail?
Right, I know on the common law court, you can actually register your to become a peace constable. So they do actually offer training and a service. So you can actually register on the common law court to actually become a constable. You won't need any certificates for being a constable. You will get a warrant card though. So basically, they are recruiting, and we'd like to see more peace constables available.
Right. Okay. I think with that we should go open to questions because that's our job. Is Sharon still there? Because I no longer see her.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, there you go. So now it's your job to call out the people to speak and
Okay.
for us to answer the questions.
First, it's Heather Richmond.
So Heather, switch on your microphone and let's listen to you. Your question.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Do you have a camera?
Yes, just a second. There you go.
All
Hello.
right. Now we can see you.
Hello. Yeah, could I speak to Geoff, please?
Can.
Yeah.
Hi, Geoff. I've already registered myself, my birth certificate and my legal fiction. But I was just a bit confused because I've got the legal fiction in my married name. Is that what I should have done?
Yes,
No.
it's the name you use on your government documents now. So it's not your original one on your birth certificate. It's the one you use now. So it would appear on your passport, a driving license, or any government ID would be what you actually put on there. And you put it in capitals or what it's written exactly the way it's written on your government ID. Because I know under legal terms, they can actually write it in many different ways.
Okay. Oh, that's lovely. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Right,
I thought I should have got it in my maiden name. So that's okay.
Well, you
So
can
I'm
get
on my
stuff
way now.
changed if
Just
you
got
need
to
to.
do, I've got to do the oath next.
Yeah.
And I need a copy of the that thing that you show to people. What did you call that?
The ID, the
ID.
common law course.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I've got that. I've got the common law card. No, the one that if somebody was objecting to what you say, you show them something.
Oh, the caution card.
That's it. Yes. So we've got a copy of that somewhere.
I can send a copy to Peter.
Yes, please.
Yes, send it to me. That's my common law court.
Unless you've got Ron's email address, and Ron can share some of the documentation with people.
Well, if they send it to me, I can put it on the forum, and then they can get the documentation from there.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. It's been really good. Very interesting.
So, Sharon, next person.
Okay, let's have Gillian Grace, please.
Greetings, everybody, and thank you, guys, for this wonderful information. Absolutely brilliant. I have a couple of questions. Some years ago, I changed both my middle name and surname by deed poll. So, number one, would that invalidate my birth certificate in the form of them being able to use my birth certificate? And number two, I think you've just answered my question with Heather. I continue using my middle name and surname as changed by deed poll.
Yes, yes, you would. Just whiz back to the birth certificate bit, just so everyone knows. When you actually do the birth certificate deed, it's as per your birth certificate, which your original birth certificate. So I don't know whether people get new birth certificates with different details on, but it would be as your birth certificate, the one which is current. And as far as names on the fictitious names document, it's the one you currently use. So if you've changed your name by deed poll, you'd actually put that new name on there. And the other thing is, when you come to doing your IDs and passport, once you've done the fictitious name and the birth certificate, you can then use the name you commonly go by. So for me, my original name on my birth certificate was Geoffrey Robert Cook. That's what was on all my documentation within the legalese world. And when I come to do my, I did that on my fictitious name, but when I did my passport and ID, I just shortened it to Geoff Cook. And that's what I use every day. So I've got an ID now where I'm happy because I'm using my normal name. And if I do any law documents, I'd actually use my normal name. And it's different from what I get through the post as a bill. And I say, well, that's in my legal fiction. I'm not paying that anymore.
Thank you, Geoff.
And the second one is that this year at Wimbledon, all the ball boys are being dressed in what I would consider to be naval colors and designs. Do you think this might be a subconscious attempt of keeping us connected with Admiralty law rather than the law of the land?
For me, I think it could very well be. They do plenty of signals where they're trying to show off the cabal colours, I should say. I mean, I see it everywhere. You go in churches, cathedrals, even walking around parks and stuff, you see pyramids and that, and you think, well, this is satanic architecture. You see statues which are satanic. I mean, it's amazing how much they've actually integrated or infiltrated into our lifestyle. So I think even on sort of Wimbledon, they're trying to show signs.
Right. And also, I'd like to highly recommend the Biomedis Trinity, as Ron and Geoff have too. It's a wonderful device with its frequencies, rife frequencies, etc. So I can highly recommend it.
It's got a fantastic list of, if you start going into the settings on it, I hadn't realized how powerful it really was. And I went down the list, and it's got, it even had not monkeypox, it had chicken pox and stuff in there, shingles. I mean, it's got loads of options on it, and it does really work. For example, I had a water butt, the tap on it, I was trying to move a water butt and it fell off its stand, and the tap hit my foot and left a mark on my foot, and it was badly bruised. And I was thinking, that doesn't hurt, but I'll use my Biomedis Trinity. And I tried it straight away when I did the injury. I put it onto bone fracture, even though I knew I hadn't broken a bone, but it does pain and inflammation. Left it on from that point forward in the afternoon until the next morning. And I could walk the next day like I'd done nothing to my foot. But my foot was swollen after the injury, and the next morning it had gone down. There wasn't even a bruise. It was amazing.
No, these things can happen. I mean, I've been involved in that.
Digressing.
That's digressing, and we should do a separate program for that. So is that it, Gillian? Can we move on to the next?
Thank you,
Yes,
Gillian.
thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Sharon, who's next?
Okay, over to Derek. Hi, Derek.
Yeah,
Hi, Derek.
hear me. Okay, yeah, I've got lots of things. Obviously, I actually have been in court and fighting a case, and I've been in the Admiralty Court. They apply Admiralty law, whether you like it, or statute law, whether you like it or not. But there is a way to fight, a way around to fight it. And what you have to do, you have to stand, like you say, stand on your own ground. But they put you into the fictitious dead person, okay, when they first start off. And when they first, and there's a book on this, don't ask me what it is, because I don't know. But anyway, I read it a long time ago. So what you do, the first thing they say to you, can you give me a name, please? Okay. And this is fighting for myself, this was. I know you have to say, who art thou? Who art thee? 3 times. Who art thou? Who trespass on my ledger? For I am Derek of the Betts family, name, and the beneficiary. And then they say, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Betts, you'd have to give us your name. And then you say, you turn to the bench, which is actually a bank, because the judge is not really a judge, he's a banker, right? And you have to turn to the judge, you have to say, Your Honor, I just want to remind the court that this person has just attempted through trickery to get me to take on the legal fiction of a dead person. That's fraud under your system, and they can't deal with you. They cannot deal with you. If they try to attempt then to apply it, then the judge, there's a word, I forget what the word is, the judge can be held up for it, because then he's allowing the court, because he's supposed to sit on the bench, okay, and he's supposed to oversee the court. That's how their law works. If they get you into court, that's what you have to do. If you don't do that, they'll do with you as they please, and they'll completely ignore common law, which is what Ron always says. It's a summons. You don't have to go. But I'm fighting for a case for somebody who ignored that. The police came, took him away. He got then forced into court. They found him guilty and gave him 10 years, and he's an innocent man, totally innocent man. So there are drawbacks of it, you know. But the only thing I would say on this, on all this, through the the People's Public Trust, is these are our amiable rights. We don't have to do all this jiggery poke with paperwork and all that sort of thing. I don't believe, okay, because it forms part of our natural born amiable rights, and they cannot take them away from us. If they do, this is the problem. This is what I said, and this is why Ron keeps saying we've got to get together, because if we can get together, force the military to stop them, because they're going to, because like Peter said, they are not even public servants anymore. They are private corporations.
That's right. But I think the mistake made there is that you actually went to the court, because the court is their jurisdiction, and so one should refuse to go to there because it has no authority over you.
Yeah, that's it. And that's it. And now they've got you then. Absolutely, Peter. They've absolutely got you. I dare say that I hope that's done the right front, because I know we went off on a tangent before, but having actually fought under common law in admiralty law, there is a way, and they cannot do with you. And the judge actually leant across the bench and said to me, I'm going to help you, because she couldn't do anything else. I found out afterwards she could not do anything else. But anyway, that aside. All right.
Okay,
go, guys.
Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, now we have Mary Brower.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Mary.
How are you? I have a, is Ron still here?
I'm sorry, yes, carry on with the question.
Okay. He sounds like the narrator on the video, What on Earth Happened? I was just wondering, number one, if that was him. He sounds just like it. I'm an office manager for a law firm, and a lot of the lawyers aren't having a clue about all of this, and I'm just learning about it. And do you know how it will roll out, where the courts will be stepping down and the lawyers will have to be stepping down?
Well, that's part of the GESARA process, and basically there's going to be a big announcement at some point. We're expecting it this month. Don't ask me which date, because I don't know. There's been a lot of dates put. It could be the 11th of July. It could be later. I just don't know. Nobody knows except the people organising this. But it's going to be announced at some point that we're moving into GESARA for the USA or GESARA for the rest of the world. And with that, 20 acts or 20 laws come into place worldwide, including the move to constitutional law according to 1776 in the USA. So obviously the lawyers are going to be informed about this, and they will have to be retrained. Okay. So that is part of the process. So retraining into constitutional law is what all lawyers will have to go through, and that will be made obvious to everybody.
Okay. I tried to get one of them to do a CLE on common law, and he just said, why? So do we know what will be needed in the future? Are we going to move then to peace constables?
I should think so, yes, because constables are the common law variant of the police.
Okay, great. That was all I had. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have Pat Bishop.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Pat.
Can I just address Mary, first of all?
Sure.
I think in the States, what you have to do is claim back your sovereignty, like we've been saying, claim back your citizenship in Britain. If you go on to Anne Vanderstill's site, she's very much into doing that. So you might get some guidance from her. But I think the two systems of law are going to run in parallel for a while, until everybody realizes that they don't have to comply with Admiralty law. So you're going to get the two systems. I've already been a juror on a common law court case in Britain. So that is happening here as we speak. We still have the Admiralty law systems. Until everybody understands totally what is happening and what is going to go on, you're going to have the two run in parallel. But until we all stand up, as Ron said, and take part in this system, until we register, if that's what it takes, register your birth certificates, take back your citizenship or your sovereignty or whatever it is, the more we do it, the more it will grow, and it will gain force by being actively part of it. So that was what I would say to everybody. Take your future in your hand and be proactive about doing this. You're not going to come to any harm by not doing it, and you will probably fall foul of the law in some state by not doing it. We've got to deal with councils, we've got to deal with governments, we've got to deal with police, and this is the first step that we need to take by actually opting out of their system. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Pat. Pat has come in quite often, and she's obviously very knowledgeable in common law. So who's next, Sharon?
We have Patrice.
I just wanted to give a little feedback on the way I tried to do it on my own without having all this knowledge. At the beginning of the year, I mean, in Switzerland, you are charged for having access to the internet, or if you have TV or if you have a phone, you have to pay a tax. It's 365 Swiss francs per family. And so I just wrote back, I took the letter and I opened it up properly and I crossed it over. And I just wrote, I do not have a contract with you. You can deduct it from my trust. And I signed it with small caps. And I just put the letter back into the envelope and I sent it back, and I wrote refused on the envelope. And they kept on sending it back to me like 2, 3, 4 times. And now they have completely given up. And in Switzerland, if you don't pay something, then they report you to the States and you are like registered. And if you want to take a loan or you want to rent a place, you have to bring them a certificate that you're not registered, that you have a debt. But they did not report me. So far, that's the first try I did. And once I got on the French side, there is a part of France that is now claiming its sovereignty, and they've been recognized as sovereign part of France. It's called Les Pays de Savoie and the Comté of Nice. And when the cops asked me to stop the car, I looked at him and I said, yes, can I help you? And he said, well, I'm here, you have to stop. And I said, well, I don't know, I haven't done anything wrong. And I asked him, what are you doing here? And he said, we are just showing some blue color, which means the cop in France, they are called the blue guys. And I said, well, then enjoy, because you know that you are now in the state of Savoy and you have no right to do that. And he looked at me and he said, okay, move on. And he was stopping all the cars and interviewing the people. I mean, there was such a backlog of car, like about 2 kilometers, just because of these guys were just impressing people wearing those masks and everything. And I think if you feel like comfortable trying it step by step, it's a good way maybe to try to move forward to being a sovereign person. I don't know, it's just some tips that maybe we have to take baby steps to feel comfortable, because now when I'm facing something, I haven't paid my taxes since 2020. They sent me a register letter. I knew that was the taxes. I didn't pick it up. And now they actually tax me like they didn't ask whatever my income, they just taxed me. And I'm not going to reply. I was waiting for GESARA to kick in. And if not, I guess I'll pay them like $5 per month. And they can't just tell that they can't report me as someone who's got debt. I mean, I'm trying baby steps. And
no, it's good. I haven't been paying taxes for a few years. The only person I get into trouble with is my mother-in-law, who keeps telling me I have to do my taxes.
Well, I'm trying to do little baby steps, and I think it's good because I feel more comfortable trying those small things. Because I mean, the TV tax is like $300. I mean, what the hell? I thought, well, at the end of the day, if GESARA is not there yet, you know, it's just 300. It's not like I have a large files with unpaid bills. I mean, I'd always say, yeah, you know, I'm just paying right away to the States and they clear my account. But
no, I mean, I pay all the bills for something which for services I'm going to need. For example, telephone charges. Obviously, I'm going to pay my telephone bill. I don't want to be cut off, and electricity and those kind of things. You know, I don't dispute those at all, because obviously I don't want to lose those services. And I am using their services, so it is legitimate to pay, independent of what system it is.
Yeah, I don't have TV, so I don't care. They can't cut me the TV, but Well, anyway, thank you very much for the show. It's very interesting. It's true that when we're not English mother tongue, it's sometimes when people talk fast, it's a little bit, since we don't really master the subject, it's a little bit difficult to follow.
Oh, I understand that. I'm dealing with German authorities, so I have to speak to them in German. So I know what it's like. I have problems with translation because in English you have legal for statute law and lawful for common law. Now I don't have two words in German, so how do I express that? Those are the kind of problems I'm having. Yeah, so
in maritime.
Yeah, well, yes, I say maritime law, I say statute law, I say common law, but legal or lawful, it's the same word in German. So
last but not least, last year I had to actually hire a lawyer for family inheritance issue. And I spoke to the guy about common law, and he laughed at me. And at the end, I stayed there 2 hours, and I was like, oh my God, if he's going to charge me for 2 hours, whereas we just spoke business for 15 minutes. And then we just decided that if GESARA would not kick in, I would have to buy him champagne. And then the other day I had to call him back. I said, well, I'm still holding on your champagne because I'm quite sure that this is coming, martial law is coming, but he absolutely laughed at me.
Well, so, yeah, they would, because they feel like they're entitled, that they're arrogant, and they're sure they're right, and that we're just conspiracy theorists. That's what happens.
So I mean, baby steps, but I don't mind being laughed at.
No, that's right. Yeah, we all started with. So I started with baby steps as well. I started learning common law because I found it a fascinating topic, and because I saw I could use it in my life to get out of doing things which I don't want to do. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Patrice,
for the show,
and I hope it's been useful for you, the show.
Of course, thank you.
Okay, Sharon, who's next?
We've got Gaydon is the last question.
Gaydon.
Yes. Hey there.
Hi there, Gaydon.
Hey. Grant's been on several, I don't know if he's on the Zoom call, but he's been on several times saying you have to be so careful and you should take David Straight's 3-day course. And so it sounds pretty simple. So I don't know if Grant's on, but anyway, I don't.
Sharon can look that up.
I don't know if, I mean, he's made it sound like you just got to be so careful.
Yeah, he was saying be careful as regards the Cestui Que Vie funds, because that's where you can get into trouble if you make a mistake.
On the trying to get your birth certificate money back.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
That's what he was referring to, as I remember.
Okay. Well, it'd be nice, but I guess I'd be careful. All right. Thank you for answering my question.
That's right. Grant is there.
Oh, there's Grant.
So we'll grant you the next speech, Grant.
The main issue is that a lot of people forget is the Cestui Que Vie account is set up as a trust under the public trust in the United States. I'm only speaking United States. And it's a trust set up with you as co-beneficiary and co-trustee and co-signature. All right. But when you stop and you take a look at it, it's none of your money that got it set up in the first place. And when you look at, you got to look at it from the standpoint as a balance sheet. There is a debit side and a credit side. They debit you so much, and then that's taken from the IMF and brought in as a loan, if you will, and that's on your debit side. It's $1 million if you were born after 1975. Now, to balance that out in a balance sheet, then there has to be something coming in on the credit side, and there is. And what they do with that, it becomes a bond, and they hypothecate it, and they take it out onto the marketplace, and it gets traded over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, you'd be amazed at how much it's been traded. You can see by going to, and I always get these initials wrong, let me look it up, Somebody got it before I do. I always forget. GMEI or IE, GMEI utility. And you can .com. You can look there and you'll type in either your social security number, and I forget what you do in Europe. But if you, whatever it is, whether it's in the United States or it's in Europe, if there's dashes in it, like a social security number here in the United States, it'll be 3 digits, a dash, 2 digits, and a dash. Put the dashes in there. If you know your QSIP number, which is your birth certificate number, it'll be right on your birth certificate, usually in the upper right. Put that in. The bottom line, what you're going to find when you go to that GMI utility is you're going to find out how much you're being traded. The amount of bonds that's put out there in your name will shock you. 7,000 is not an uncommon number, much higher than that. And so you say, well, how do I get on the act? There is a way, but you have to be very careful with it. What I would recommend is taking a David Straight seminar. You can do it online, even in Europe. There's a couple of them coming up in July, and I will post his email address, and costs about $150. I realize there is a cost to it, but I'd highly recommend you take his course, and in the process of that 3-day course, he'll go over in detail on the Cestui Que Vie account. And what he cautions everybody on is that it's not really your money that got it started. Yes, it's been put out there in your name. And yes, there is a way to tap it, but it's a lengthy process. And just be careful. Now, what's going to happen with GESARA and GESARA, and I know this in the United States, I can't speak for other parts of the world, is that part of that account will come into play in terms of what is reimbursed to us. I don't know how much I'm going to be attending a David Straight seminar live, and I hope to be able to ask him some questions that's off camera to get more details. I honestly think that in the United States under the GESARA, we're going to be surprised at how much a healthy amount of that's going to come back to us, only from other things I've read. Now, what you can do, the one site that I go to quite frequently is Captain Kyle Patriots on Telegram, and the other one is Whiplash. Those two get into things along this line pretty frequently. Captain Kyle has quite a bit lately. There's another source for you. But the key source I'd highly recommend is good old David Lester Straight. Now, if you go on to, oh, help me, Peter, is it, which side? He has a Babylon series, Out of Babylon. It's 8 parts.
Well, a Babylon series on
yeah, and it's not on, you can get it on YouTube, but it's better to get it, hold on, I'll tell you which side it is. You can get it on, I'll name some of the, not YouTube, you can get it YouTube, but lately it's been better to get it.
Rumble or BitChute?
Rumble is a good one. And I don't know if he's on BitChute, but Rumble is a good one. You go to Rumble, you type in David Straight, and it'll come up and you'll see an 8-part series that says Out of Babylon. And that 8-part series is free, and you can watch it, and you're going to invest about 15 hours, 16 hours of your time, something like that. But it's a very good series. And in that series, he will go over the Cestui Que Vie account in detail. And
I can add links to that into the forum under common law. That's probably a good thing to do.
The only thing I caution people on, and I've studied this quite a bit enough now to know, no, Anna von Straight's another one. I don't particularly use her site anymore, but Anna von Straight talks about it. She cautions about trying to tap into the Cestui Que Vie account. What I think is going to happen, David Straight is in contact with our president. You get my drift there. And he's the one that sits in Florida. And they have had much conversation on this issue of Cestui Que Vie account and how they're planning to restore us to some of that money. And I'm wondering if what they're going to do is they're going to say, the last time I looked, the dollar wise, like on mine was 150 million. I mean, my words. What if you got 10% of that? I'd be happy.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't know what the number is, but David had said they're looking at some kind of formula that will, through GESARA, will tap into that. Do I know the specific amount? No. I've been waiting on David to hopefully give us more details on that. So I've just heard it there. I don't want to give you any rumors. It's the only place I can go or tell you to go to hear what I heard. Do your own research, as Captain Kyle would say, would be to take a David Straight seminar, and you'll hear it firsthand. Is that fair?
That sounds fair, yeah.
And I'm sorry I wasn't able to listen real well. I had to go out and do some things with the missus on a Sunday, which is not a bad thing to do.
Yeah, that's true.
I hope that's helpful. As I was listening while we were at lunch, the fellow that was giving, is his name Geoff, the fellow that was giving the talk?
Yeah, Geoff is right here, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see. Thank you for that. I listened for a little bit that I could. Anytime, as much as you can learn about common law, you're never going to learn it all. And so I thank Geoff for covering some areas that had me go, appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time today, Geoff.
Right, cheers. Thank you.
So,
unless you got another question for me.
Okay. So thank you, Grant, for that. Derek has something to say.
Yeah, I was going to just, I've listened to Grant before. Thank you for that, Grant. He's a very, very knowledgeable guy, that guy is. I've listened to him on other forums. I'm just going to come back about the Cestui Que Vie fund. I have a totally different opinion about that. And that's because myself and a number of other trustees are preparing a case, because that fund belongs to us. That's our fund, that is. We shouldn't have to negotiate with anybody for a 10% cut of what? A fund that was fraudulently set up against our name and our legal fiction. So we are fighting, or going to fight, or just preparing a common law case to release the Cestui Que Vie funds to the people that were set up against, names against, because they were set up fraudulently. That's an illegal act, totally fraudulently. It's a legal act. So that belongs, that fund should belong to the person it was set up against.
Yeah, but wouldn't they argue that it wasn't your money which was used to set it up in the first place? And
Derek, that's a key point. And all I would say is take a David Straight seminar, because I felt like you did when I first listened to it, because I started to get involved with a group doing just what you're doing. I want to caution you, there was a group in Colorado that did this, and some of them were in jail. So just be careful.
Derek, what you've got to remember is it's not a fund, it's a trust. And there's always legal conditions to a trust. And you have to look at those legal conditions.
Yeah, but it is a fund. It is a fund.
It's not, it's a trust. There's money in the trust, and it will only be paid out on certain conditions. As I understand it, you can't, the problem is when you're trying to claim the cash, you can ask to buy a house, you can ask to buy a car. The problem is trying to get cash out of it as it stands at the moment. What Trump and the Alliance do about it is another thing.
Yeah, I know. That's
David says is you have to, in essence, file bankruptcy in a way. And again, take his seminar and he'll tell you it's not a simple step to get to the point where you can tap into the trust.
No, we're going to find out who's got it, who owns it, but who's keeping it, and we're going to take him to court. That's what we're going to do.
Well, I can say is good luck with that and keep us informed, because
yes, absolutely, and we're going to take it to court on the basis it was set up fraudulently. Let me just talk about the funds. It wasn't set up with our money. What a load of rubbish that is. It was set up initially up until 1960. Forgive me for not knowing the exact dates. It was set up with our tax money, so it was set up with the people's money. Then after that, it was given to the trust by the government, and they were using our money, our taxpayers' money. So I'm sorry, but it was set up with our money. It was set up with the people's money, and that's why we're doing it under the people's trust. And I know there's loads of hurdles, and until we start, I dare say there's going to be some hurdles and there's going to be some closed doors, but we've got some pretty determined people. Pat knows most of them, I think, or Pat knows Nick anyway, and she'll know they're very, very clever, clued up, and we've already won a lot of cases against the system and repatriating different things for the people, for children, against the police, against the courts, against really nefarious judges. We've got some very, very bad judges. We don't have enough good judges. Anyway, going off the sort of subject. I can't see you now, guys. For some reason, I've lost my screen.
Yeah, you have frozen. You have frozen. Your screen has frozen.
I've been having
Just remember that the money that goes into the Cestui Que Vie account comes from the IMF.
Yeah, but where does the IMF get the money from?
Yeah, they get it from the
They get it
international
from the government grants. They get it from the governments, and the governments get it from us. So it's our money.
Well, all I know is David said it comes from the IMF.
Yeah.
And to secure that money, they
Yeah.
want an insurance policy,
Yeah.
USTV, whoever. And hey, listen, when I first looked at this, I thought, why can't if I am co-beneficiary, co-trustee, and a co-signer of it, why in the world can't I tap it? Now, those that have, and I know this from listening to Anna von Reitz, is that some did and some got into, they went after extravagant things. David said, even when you do go through the process of being able to pull money out of the Cestui Que Vie, it's best to keep it to necessities. Yes, you could do a house. Yes, you could do a car. Yes, you could do utilities. But when you try to go after boats, yachts, and things of that nature, they're going to come after you. Is that right or wrong? No. It's part of the three-letter agencies that I'm hoping are about to go down because of the law, what the Supreme Court did just last week in the case of the EPA. When you get to looking deeper into that, it pulls down all the three-letter agencies that were set up through executive order.
No, you're welcome. My view is, it doesn't matter what you spend the money on, it's yours. It belongs to the people. It belongs to the person in the name of the trust. It's that person. It does. So therefore, it doesn't matter what you spend the money on. It's irrelevant. It's none of their goddamn business. I'm very authoritarian like that, so I'm very. So forgive my thorough.
Well, I hope it works out for you. I truly do.
Yeah, I'd like to hear Jeff's opinion on this.
Some atrocities.
No, I was actually thinking that the money which goes to the IMF actually comes off from those people who've actually died, and their Cestui Que Vies stay in perpetuity, and basically, but it still makes money, and it's the money which it makes, which then goes back into the IMF, and they then use it to set up trust for newly born people or new bonds. They put it into the new bonds.
Yeah, they sweep it.
Like cycled round.
Venetian, anytime the person, that's why it's great. They make loads of money when we die. So when we have a pandemic, or they bring out a drug that don't work and kills loads of people, and we're going to be very direct now. And these people are so evil, so evil. They're not making enough money, or they've spent too much money. So let's have a pandemic. Let's kill a few million people. And then what happens with that money? It doesn't go to the IMF. What a load of rubbish that is. Where it goes to is it goes to the Venetian families. That's where it's been going to. That's why they were all arrested first.
Yeah, I heard that they've been arrested. So now that the Venetian families are no longer there, then who does it go to now?
It's sitting in a trust fund, as Pat said. We need to access that trust. It belongs to us. It belongs to the name of the person on that trust because it was set up in their name, in their fiction name, illegally and fraudulently.
I suppose really, if you follow the money, it's probably in all the gold which was under the Vatican and under Buckingham Palace and stuff. So the gold actually holds the finance.
Well, in the United States, it's called a public charitable trust that it's under. It's like an umbrella. And here's all the little bitty Cestui Que Vies.
1,600 miles, 9 stories of gold. I mean,
well, that's all been
how much money do they want? You know, how much money they want? You know, we're all very, very wealthy. We don't realise it, but they like to control us by keeping us as slaves, and that's, you know, what's coming to an end. And I wish the bloody other. I wish they'd hurry up and get on with it. You know?
Yeah,
everybody does, Derek.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Yeah, we're really hoping that this is going to be our month, July with GESARA and NESARA.
Yeah.
And that will solve a lot of problems.
Common law.
Did anybody comment on watching the Forex backboards the last 3 days?
Yeah.
I heard somebody sent me a message today that the dinar was already at $5 on the backboards, and they expected to be 17 before it's announced.
Yeah.
Well, I sent you one about
That's
it
what I've
being
heard.
5.
Yeah, that was maybe you, Grant. You sent me, yes.
But I was wanting to. I've been trying to get on the backboards and have been.
I can't get on there.
Have you been able to, Derek?
No, not been able to. You need to be connected.
Well, I started to sign up for the Forex, but it's a pretty lengthy process, and frankly, I didn't want to give them my social security number.
I was going to say, I think you need to be. It's a very difficult process to get on there. Don't you have to be? Don't you have to be a trader as well on the stock market? Known.
Well, I don't know. I went there. I tried to sign it. Well, I was signing up until it asked me for a social security number, and that's when I went, "You ain't getting it." So I elected not to do it. So that may be the only way you can look at the backboards is by being a member. The good news is it's filtering out anyway. I thought, why go through all that process? The rumor's going to get out there anyway. Yeah. And when it hits the boards, it'll be on Forex.
Yeah, but I mean, even if it's on the backboards of the Forex, can we still access those rates until they're out in the public?
I'm going to check with the banks on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe you can then report on our Wednesday show.
Well, yeah, we don't have any local banks here in Tulsa that I think that will. I'm probably gonna have to go to Kansas City, somewhere where it's a little more international flavor. I'm just guessing. But if it's there and you can tap it for 5.5, I'm gonna go ahead and sell some of my dinar.
Yeah, I've got quite a few dinar. I just received 10 notes, which I bought recently, and so if it comes out at 5.5, I'm going to try it out with one note, even if it's not $17. I don't mind doing that, and then just see if it works.
That's exactly what I've had some on for quite a while. I'm hoping none of it's counterfeit, and I have all my receipts. I have everything. So if you go in and say it's counterfeit, I'm going to say, "Look here, here's where I got it."
Right. Yes, that's a good thing.
I've informed the sheriff in my county what I'm going to do. So I have registered myself, if you will, of my intent. And if it turns out to be counterfeit, I can come back to the sheriff and say, "Sheriff, would you mind telling him what my intent was? And I told you my concerns." Then you're not going to have to fight the battle, especially when you got receipts. I tell everybody, if you're getting ready to exchange your dinar and you've bought it in the last year, you may or may not be good. I've had some of mine longer. Well, let's say some of mine is counterfeit. I'm just going to cover my old rear end, if you will, as far as receipts and everything else. And the fact that here in the United States, when you contact the sheriff of your county, you're talking to the highest lawful authority in your county. I happen to know him. He attends our church from time to time. And so just registering with somebody what my intent is. Now, that doesn't make it lawful, but it sure makes a good start towards saying, "Hey, I didn't know."
Right.
But
okay.
Have you heard of anybody? Has anybody complained about counterfeit with dinar?
I haven't heard that. No, what I always recommend is if you're getting some from, say, eBay, only go to reputable dealers. In other words, dealers which have thousands of positive comments, and then you're on the safe side. Don't buy it from anyone who only has, say, 50 positive comments. You're asking for trouble.
Yeah, I got mine from like at 4,000 or something.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's got to be in the thousands of positive messages of basically 100% satisfaction, and then you know that you've got a reputable dealer. I use a dealer in Germany called Peter's Banknoten. Well, Peter's Banknote will be the translation, pretty easy, and he has tens of thousands of positive comments, and I've always got what I asked for.
You know that if you take your dinar in like that, whether you're going to have to set up an account with them and leave it there, and then you'll have to move it, or will they give you cash?
I haven't tried yet. I don't think they're going to have enough cash, because I mean, even if you have, say, a 10,000 note and we get a value exchange rate of just 5, that's 50,000. I don't think your local bank is going to have that kind of money just sitting there waiting to hand out.
I'm willing to let it sit in one of their accounts. I'm even willing to use I'm hoping what they might be ready to do is use blockchain, and I wouldn't mind using my ledger account. And they can I'll take it with me, and put it right in my Nano X wallet. Fine by me.
Right.
But the big thing is I'm just looking forward to 5.5. I never would have believed it would get that high if it is. I want to get some.
Well, yeah, I mean, even 5.5, you know, I'm already making a good profit on that. So I would certainly start trying to, you know, give them a note or two just to find out if that's real.
How about
anyway,
the Vietnamese dong? Did anybody? I got in late. I apologize. We talked about it. See what's going on with it.
Okay, but anyway, currency is really not the topic tonight. It's a common law special.
You're on common law. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. We're on common law special. So I think we're coming to the end. Anybody else who? I don't see anybody else who has the hands up.
I was going to say about the utilities and council tax. They actually take the money to pay those from your Cestui Que Vie.
Right.
So they're already paid for. That's why you're entitled to free electricity and gas and things like that.
Right. So that's good. I just had to mute someone. One second.
Peter, can I ask you if you did have any news, please? Quickly.
Yeah. Okay. Not yet. I still haven't had a reply. I did send another message. I'll try and chase them up again. But if they don't respond to me, it's little I can do.
Okay. Just if you send again, maybe with a request, then maybe they can answer. Thank you for all the information, everybody, and I say good night.
Yes, thank you, Kerry. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think we've covered the topic today, and I think we've learned a lot. I've certainly learned a lot. I mean, I just still had questions which I hadn't got answered, but that's okay, maybe for another day. Geoff, is there something you would like to tell the viewers?
I'd like everyone to, thank everyone for being very active on this, because it's good to see so many people around the world actually joining in on common law and actually pushing it forward.
Yes, it is, and it is certainly a popular topic. I know a lot of people like learning about common law, and I certainly find it fascinating as well. And so I'm sure we'll do something like this again. Maybe it'll become a topic which has to be very much in the forefront when GESARA and NESARA come in, because we're all moving to common law, and then we all need to learn about it, because that's going to be the new law for us all.
I agree. The big challenge for most of us will be actually working with maritime law and trying to actually push it back, squash it.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you know, the questions I had in relation to what my friend there was saying is, he basically was saying in the UK statute law is legally supreme, and that the Magna Carta is invalid, and the 1215 one was superseded by later versions of the Magna Carta. So even the 1215 version is no longer valid. What would you say to that?
I'd say Article 61 is still valid as much today as it was back in 1215.
And Peter, his knowledge is outdated, and he needs to be brought up to date.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Ron did offer to talk to him, so I'll try and make that happen, and then see how that goes. So, okay, I think with that, I think we've covered the topic for today. We're at how long? 2.5 hours. So we had a good long session talking about this. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll try and get this recording out tomorrow. It's because we're back to subscribers. It'll be available for subscribers only, and it'll be made public a week later on Rumble and Telegram and BitChute. For subscribers, it'll be available tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Geoff, Grant, Ron, Sharon, who I know has already left the show. She had another thing which she needs to do. And I'd like to thank you all for joining in. And it's just time to say goodbye and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Lots
Thank
of
you,
love.
Peter.
Lots of love to everybody.
Absolutely, and I think it was a great pleasure to the show. A show without Billy. Sorry, Billy. I don't know who was listening in, but certainly
We miss you, Billy.
That's right.
What's the matter with Billy?
Love you all.
He had something with his throat. He had some health issue. And hopefully he'll be back on the next show.
Tell him to get well. Lots of love.
Yeah, that's right. We'll all keep in our prayers.
Cheers, Peter.
Okay, so thanks a lot, and see you on the next one on Wednesday. No, today is it today?
What time will it be Wednesday?
Today's Sunday. Yes, the next show is on Wednesday, and
what time?
The Wednesday is an hour later than this show began. I sent out the invitations. You can always look at the website. It tells you when the times are, but it's basically Wednesdays are an hour later than this show.
Be aware, Peter, I'm getting the invitations for this show
Okay.
about 10 minutes before.
Right. Okay. Well, at least you're getting them.
Yeah. Okay, cheers, guys. Thank
Okay,
you now.
cheers.
Bye-bye.
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 And
cheers, then.
See you on the next one.
What is the legal definition of the word legal? This is going to just kick your butts when I tell you what the definition of the word legal is. It is the undoing of God's law. What is legal is not lawful. And what is lawful is not legal. You were licensed, bonded, insured. Your vessel was created. A Cestui Que Vie trust was created. A Cestui Que Vie trust is an individual trust underneath the umbrella of the public charitable trust. So the Public Charitable Trust Act of 1882 created the Public Charitable Trust. The Cestui Que Vie Trust Act created the Cestui Que Vie Trust, each individual trust that you all have through your birth certificate and registration. On your birth certificate, there's a bank name. It's on bond paper. There's a CUSIP number, C-U-S-I-P number. What is a CUSIP number? It's an investment control number that's regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. If you were born between 1933 and 1975, you were bonded for $630,000 and insured for $1 million. If you were born after 1975, you were bonded for $1 million and insured for $2 million. Now, wait a minute. That's just the initial investment. It's the initial upfront investment. You were a few days old, right? So like me, I was born on April 20th, on 4/20. Nice. I knew there would be one in the crowd. And my vessel was created on 5/3. 2 different dates, 2 different events. My vessel was born on May the 3rd. I was born on April 20th. For that period of time, I was a state national. In fact, I was a Californian. I was born in California, and I was a state national. I was a free, independent, one of we the people for that long. And then I got registered, and I became a citizen, a person, and a resident. And I lost all my diplomatic immunity. I lost it all. I became a servant, a slave. See, the 13th Amendment, the Constitution freed the black slaves, and the 14th Amendment, the Constitution made all of us slaves. See, there's a maximum law that says that in which one creates, one controls. God created me, and he controlled me. And then unknowingly, while under duress, without any full and honest disclosure of the terms and conditions of the contract, with no one even licensed to explain it available, my mother warded me to the state in a birth ward. I became a ward of the state. Why do you think a birthing ward is called a ward? I became a ward of the state, a ward of the court, under the doctrine of parens patriae. I became a slave, and I didn't even know it. I grew up thinking I was free. I fought for this country. I thought I was free. I got shot. I thought I was doing it for the right reasons, so I was free. Now I teach veterans how to get rid of PTSD, and I can do it in 20 minutes. I know guys that have been going to psychologists for years and taking drugs for years trying to get rid of their PTSD, and it destroys their wives and their families and themselves. And I can solve it in 20 minutes.
Yes, please.
How? I explain a little something that's off track. So would you do me a favor? Remind me to tell you, okay? It's very important. All right. What happens? What happens at our birth with the Cestui Que Vie? First of all, we have a PCT, Public Charitable Trust, an umbrella. There's 337 million little CQVs, Cestui Que Vie trusts, one for each of us, right? In this country.
Say that one more time. CQV.
Yeah, every individual in the United States and in most countries of the world have a Cestui Que Vie trust. And we have this CQV. And here's what happens, and this is incredibly important. Y'all know basic accounting? What is that? It's a balance sheet, right? A balance sheet. It's got debits and credits. You guys have been thinking you're the debtor. They keep telling us that, right? We're in debt. We're a debtor. We owe money on credit cards. We owe money on our houses. We owe money on everything. What happens at birth, though, and I'm just going to use the figures from 75 to now because it's round numbers. We were bonded for $1 million. What does that mean? That means the bank went to the International Monetary Fund, and the bank, on behalf of the public, under your CUSIP number, borrowed from the International Monetary Fund $1 million in ones, fives, tens, 20s, 50s, hundreds, and they threw it out there into the general public. They distributed that $1 million to the bank for every person who's born. That's what they do. On the credit side, $1 million worth of United States Treasury bonds are issued, and they're sold. They're hypothecated. They are bundled, and they are sold on the stock exchange. And if we wanted to, I could pull up a website if we had internet access, and I could put in one of your CUSIP numbers, and I could show you the companies that are buying and selling you today. You have more than one CUSIP number, by the way. As we increase in value, I'll just put it that way, as we get better in our life, the more we join the military or get more college degrees, we get more and more CUSIP numbers. You are the credit. You are the creditor. They're making you believe you're also the debtor, and you are. You're both. This is your vessel. This is you. Okay? This is your labor. This is your worth. I got 5 college degrees. Every time I got an advanced degree in college, I got a new CUSIP number. It's in the military, I got a new CUSIP number. All these CUSIP numbers are attached to my main birth number. Okay? Is this in a bad spot? Anyway, let's stop here. It's a balance sheet, right? It's balanced. It's got $1 million on one side, $1 million on the other. This gets invested. It keeps growing and growing and growing. And let's just say it grows to $100 million. And by the way, that figure's low. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Really? I've seen individuals worth 35 billion or more that didn't know they had a dime. Okay, it keeps growing and growing and growing. Our first 18 years of life, we're not spending anything. So nothing is going over here, our first 18 years. That's growing and growing and growing for 18 years, and it's being hypothecated and traded. And they've done a good job of managing it. They really have. First 18 years, it's growing and growing and growing. You're not spending anything. You're not adding anything to the debit side. Then you go get a job and you get married and you go out and you buy a house. I'm just going to use numbers. The numbers themselves don't matter. It's the concept, okay? You buy a car or two. You buy some utilities or two over your lifetime, some medical bills, some food, whatever. They keep track of it all through your tax returns, your credit card, your bank statements. Banking is all tied into the IMF, the Federal Reserve. We got a big buildings of bean counters called the Department of Fiscal Services, and those accountants just keep track of everything, everybody's life. And this all starts to add up on the debit side. And this just keeps growing and growing and growing on the investment side. At some point in time, you die, and it goes through probate. They take some of this, and let's just say over your lifetime you've spent, I'm going to round it off to $10 million. So they subtract 10 million out of your investment, and they pay off all this, and it becomes a zero balance. They even pay back the initial loan to the International Monetary Fund, plus interest. That was a loan from a foreign entity, by the way, to the Public Charitable Trust. And they pay it back. The balance is zero. Now this has, let's just say for this discussion, has $90 million left in it. What happens to it? The Cestui Que Vie Trust lives on in perpetuity forever. So it keeps going. Everyone who has ever died since 1933 is currently funding government. This money gets reinvested. They can't take this, but the balance must stay the same forever. But if it keeps earning, they just sweep it off the top, and it funds government. It's called off-book funds. In the States, it's GSA, and in the federal government, it's CQV.